Welcome aboard, folks. Here we go to Your Voice Counts. Unfortunately, I wasn't here last week. I was traveling, and we kind of got switched around from Saturdays to Fridays on a 2-hour show. So that's good. We got a 2-hour program. We can get a lot done and get a lot of callers in and get people to understand it, what this country's all about and why we're here. Anybody's listening? Okay, I was on mute, folks, so I better start all over again. Thanks, Mike. I was gone last week. Thanks to Ron Kukla and James Morris for filling in, and we are in a 2-hour show now. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. We got 2 hours of good listening, good talk on a great radio station, RBN. But anybody who's listened to me very long knows exactly why I do this radio show. It's the honor, the sacrifice of my dead shipmates that lost their lives June 8, 1967 at the hands of Israel and the cover-up that ensued. And I also want to honor all veterans that have given their all for this country, all they could give, their lives, their blood, their sweat, their tears, and what they've done for their families, what they've done for this country to keep it safe, trying to keep it safe. So that's why I do it. You know, I don't do it for glory. I don't do it for money. I don't do it for anything other than to honor the people that deserve to be honored. And that's why I'll continue to do this radio show as long as I can. And I'm very proud to do it. Very, very proud to do it. And you know, folks, if you look back when George W. Bush was president, he got us in a war with Iraq. He lied about weapons of mass destruction, you know, chemical weapons, biological weapons, nuclear weapons, and you go on and on and on. Listen, folks, we're going to go to a break here. Remember, support your sponsors on RBN, Real Talk, Real News, Real People, because you can't handle the truth. We'll be right back, folks. You know, support your sponsors, please. Thank you.
Chlorine, fluoride, pathogens, and more are in the water you drink day to day. Do you want the ability to remove and reduce those harmful things in the water you drink? You can. How? With a Berkey water filter. A complete standalone gravity filter system that requires no electricity and no plumbing. Used for emergencies or for every day. Berkey systems come in 7 different sizes. Where can you get one? From GetBerkey.com. That's GetBerkey.com. With the purchase of each system, you get 50% off accessories, such as fluoride filters, water level spigot, and sport bottles. Plus free shipping on all orders over $25. For a limited time, get 5% off all ceramic systems when you use coupon code RBN. Call Get Berkey at 855-GET-BERKEY. That's 855-438-2375. Or visit GetBerkey.com. That's GetBerkey.com.
Don't answer it! How can I stop these annoying collection calls?
Imagine being free from your debt without settling and with no payment plan, no negotiating or filing bankruptcy, and no attorneys. What if you could eliminate the risk from all your unsecured debt in about 90 days and keep all your money? You can. It's called Zero Debt Guarantee, and it works. There's no other program of its kind on the planet, and we guarantee the results in writing. Call now, 800-477-9256. Let our team of experts provide provide you with the resources to fight back, stop collection calls, and prevent and stop wage garnishments and bank levies. If you're facing foreclosure, we can help. Don't go it alone. Get free information now by calling 800-477-9256. Talk to an expert who has also completed our program. Call 800-477-9256 for free info, or go to ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com. That's 800-477-9256, or go to ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com.
As business becomes more difficult, control of cash and the ability to borrow becomes critical. Working capital cash is your greatest insurance and guarantee of financial stability in these uncertain times. Equipment leasing allows you to obtain the income-producing equipment that your business needs and pay for it with tax-free, ever-devaluing dollars. Money that you've already earned and paid taxes on should be sparingly used. That is your reserve capital, safety net. We are also able to buy and lease back equipment that you already own and have depreciated, thereby making more cash available for your present-day needs. For a complete, comprehensive explanation as to how this financial truth will benefit your business future, call Bob New Incorporated at 888-639-2621. 888-639-2621. Keep your working capital cash reserves and borrowing capability. 888-639-2621.
They said that Israeli forces knew not of the Liberty's true identity, and so they took advantage of her serenity. They attacked the silent ship, making a 40-foot hole in the starboard, killing 34 and wounding almost 200 more. The jets sending down merciless napalm, and looked like a devil star war. And the Liberty fell like a wounded and dying lamb. The men and the lives betrayed, and their souls were surely damned. And all the fear and the death and the pain will never depart me. I'll hear the bomb again. I'll hear the bomb again. I'll hear the bomb again.
Welcome back, folks. Here we go to Your Voice Counts, starting off the first 2 hours, and I wanted to remind people that, folks, if you want to listen to both hours of the show, you have to go to Studio B for the second hour, so it's no big deal just to switch to Studio B to get things going. And thank you, Mike, for reminding me of that. I'm going to have a rough spot here or two till we get started on this 2-hour program, but I think I can figure it out. We'll get everything done right, and the very best way we can. But I wanted to thank my guest that's going to come on here in a minute, Jeffery Blankfort. So Jeff, just hang on just a little bit, please, and then we'll get you going. And any callers that call in, we'll take you just as soon as we can. But we got a lot to go. I noticed we already got a guest on the line in L.A., and thank you for calling in. But we have to take care of some business here. And again, Mike, thank you for being the board operator. You're very, very kind and on the ball. I appreciate that very much. And thank you, RBN, for what you do for America and getting the truth out. It means a lot to me, and you're a great radio station. And thank you, John Stadtmiller, for giving the opportunity to remember the crew of the USS Liberty and others that have given their lives to this great country. And remember, RBN has a pledge drive going, folks. Yeah, they do. They have a pledge drive. So listen, go to republicbroadcasting.org and give what you can. Let's keep this great radio station going and keep it just as honorable and nice and great as it is, and keep the great people we have on air. And of course, the sponsors are very, very important to this show. So always remember to support your sponsors. So please do that, folks. And again, thank you, RBN, for giving the USS Liberty and the crew and myself a chance to to speak out and let the truth be heard, because that's all we're trying to do is get the truth out. We're not trying to lie about anything. And I know John Statmiller just wants the chips to fall where they may, and you just can't ask for anything better than that. Just let the chips fall where they may, and we'll see what happens. We'll see who's telling the truth. You know, on Memorial Day, James Morris confronted Senator McCain in Balboa Park Museum and wanted the truth, and he got called a jerk for it. He got called a heckler, and he got called this, he got called that. And well, he's not a heckler, he's not a jerk, he's a good American, and he tried to, you know, do all he could to get the truth out about the USS Liberty, and what else can he ask for? So, very proud of you for that, James. And of course, my good friend Ron Kukl, that was on the show last week, in charge of body recovery and identification, which lives with his soul every day, every minute of his life. So, what a guy he is, and he's absolutely just a wonderful friend. And I want to thank the beautiful voice Kat. Her songs are just you know, instrumental to keep me on the show, because they just give me a lot of oomph. And thank you, Rick, Kat's husband, and thank you, Rick, for marrying such a wonderful girl. I'm glad you guys are happy and healthy, and I know Kat's getting healthier. Thank God for that. And I want to thank Helen and Harley. That's Kat's mother and father, and they're I think 82 or 83 years young. And Kat's mother, Helen, she cuts out everything about Israel and just supports the USS Liberty to no end, and I just really appreciate that, all of them doing that, and it just means a lot to me. And for the guests we get on this show, we got guests lined up to into September, middle of September. All thank you to Kat and Rick and Ron Kukl, and of course James Morris. And I thank you guys very much. Without you, I don't know what I'd do. I just really don't. You're just the cat's meow, as they say. I appreciate all your help. And again, a dear friend of mine, John Gadusco, lives out in Florida, former intelligence officer aboard the USS Liberty. He got off just before the ship got attacked, thank God. But please go to his site at tinyurl.com/USS Liberty. That's a /. tinyurl.com/USS Liberty. You'll find his site on the internet if you want to find out anything about the USS Liberty. And of course, go to ushijack.com. That's James Morris's site. He updates it just on a daily basis. If you want to learn anything new, past or current about the USS Liberty, you can find it there. So please go to there and click on it. Just take a few minutes to read about it. Now I want to talk a little bit about my very, very special guest here today, Jeff Blankfort. Jeff's kindly asked me to just call him Jeff, and I appreciate that, Jeff. He's a very learned, honest man that knows more about the Middle East than most people, and what's going on with the churches, especially the Presbyterian Church, Caterpillar, and so on and so forth. I could read his bio, but it would take me the rest of the show. But I do want to read this, and it's says on Friday, June 8th, 1967, 3 days after destroying the Egyptian Air Force in the early morning hours at the start of the war, the Israelis attacked without warning the USS Liberty, a lightly armed U.S. Navy intelligence ship anchored, and it was not anchored offshore, folks. I can guarantee you that. That's a wrong one there, so I'm glad I caught it. We were doing about 5 knots up and down the coast of El Arish, approximately 13 to 14 miles off the coast in international waters. She was monitoring radio traffic and murdered 34 U.S. sailors and wounded actually is 174 more. And the reason that changed is because some of the fellows didn't get their Purple Hearts like they were supposed to, but we're trying to get that all taken care of where they can be honored as they justly deserve. in an attempt to sink the ship and blame it on the Egyptians while making sure the U.S. did not hear Israel's radio communications about its plans to seize the Syrian Golan Heights. And that was the deal. They wanted to cover it up. Fighter planes from the U.S. aircraft carrier were launched. That was launched from the USS Saratoga. I know the guy that launched them, Captain Tully, in response to a call from help from the stricken ship. But when President Lyndon Johnson, who was in the Israel lobby's pocket, and War Secretary McNamara learned the attackers were Israeli, believe me, they knew it a long time before we even left port, folks. They knew what was going to happen to us. Our fate was sealed. They ordered the planes to turn back, leaving their fellow Americans to be slaughtered, which they did, and they were slaughtered, folks. They were so badly slaughtered, I couldn't even hardly look at some of the men that were wounded so badly. The ones that come out of the hole were all blown to bits. It was a terrible sight. I can still smell the death aboard that ship 45 years later. 45 years later, and it's still there. It's just like yesterday. When the ship did not sink and the survivors were eventually rescued for 18 hours later, nobody even sent a Piper Cub to come help us. President Johnson orchestrated criminal cover-up, assisted by Admiral John S. McCain, Jr., a war criminal, John's father, and ordered the survivors not to speak a word about it under penalty of court-martial, and a pliant Congress and an equally pliant media, which, what they're doing, they're just doing Israel's bidding of not getting the truth out. And, John McCain, the senator, is doing exactly the same thing, as well as his cohorts in the United States Senate, as well as anybody that works for the government. They're covering up for Israel, and they have been for the last 45 years because they know which in their butter is breaded on. And they're not wanting to rain on Israel and America's Jewry's wave of keeping the true story of the crime and the cover out of the pages of the media and off the TV screens to this day. So the message to the U.S. Was sent to Israel was that it could get away with anything, including murdering American servicemen on the high seas, as they well did. The remaining survivors are calling for a long-delayed congressional investigation of Israel's crime. They need to be supported by the public, particularly veterans. Now, we went to a veterans park, Balboa. We've been to many veterans events. And listen, folks, I'm going to finish this off in just a second. Support your sponsors on RBN, Real News, Real Talk, Real People, because you can handle the truth. We'll see you in just a minute. We'll bring up our very, very important guest, Jeffery Blankfort. So hang on, folks. We'll see you in just a moment.
I'll hear the bomb again.
American gardeners and fellow patriots, make the right choice with your money, time, and your family food supply. Choose 100% pure heirloom seeds in the Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com. Why spend more? The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com is only $37.95 and includes 20 varieties of pure, hardy, easy-to-grow heirloom seeds. Yes, only $37.95. That's 70% less than our competitors. You could buy 3 Survival Seed Vaults for less than one of theirs. The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com includes detailed planting and seed-saving instructions and ships same day. Plus, all orders over $49 ship free. MyPatriotSupply.com is American-owned by patriots like you, passionate about freedom and preparedness. Call now, 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Or discover more emergency preparedness items when you order at MyPatriotSupply.com. Choose the original. Choose the Survival Seed Vault at MyPatriotSupply.com.
Do you flinch when a police car appears in your rearview mirror, or you get pulled over? Are you squeamish when an envelope arrives in the mail with the return address of a court, a government agency like the IRS, or some law firm? Would you like to escape government agency harassment? Then visit escapeharassment.com. George Bush allegedly says, the government constitution is nothing but a doggone piece of paper. Well, that's a contract. A contract is an offer acceptance of that offer, at which point a contract arrives by law and the offerer can no longer withdraw the offer. We teach, do not accept. That way there is no contract or agreement for you to go to their court or private club meeting. To escape government agency harassment like the IRS, visit escapeharassment.com. This is a tried and proven experienced process, not experimental, with a money-back guarantee that it works and success testimonials from previous students. Remember, escapeharassment.com. That's escapeharassment.com.
Heart-related health problems affect millions of people each year. Maybe you're one of the many who suffer from issues related to angina pain, high blood pressure, congestive heart failure, unbalanced cholesterol, irregular heartbeat, or clogged arteries. There is a solution that doesn't involve expensive prescription drugs that only mask the problem and leave you with horrible side effects. Doctors who have tried Heart and Body Extract with their patients are thrilled with the results as well. Here's what Dr. Goodman has to say about his experience with the product.
If you notice that most times you hear these drug ads on TV, they have a list of possible side effects. I find that if you're going to take something that is, you're trading one problem for 5 or 6 other problems, that to me doesn't make sense. Using something that is natural, that is absorbed into the body, particularly because it's in a liquid form, I think is the best way to go.
Call to order your 2-month supply of Heart and Body Extract today. Call 1-866-295-5305 or go to hbextract.com.
Well, the time has finally come for the story to be told that should have been listened to a long time ago. In 1967, on the 8th day of June, came the attack of the Liberty and the needless loss of many of the crew, and the Liberty fell like a wounded, dying man. The men in the light betrayed, and their souls were surely damned, and all the fear and the death and the pain will never depart me. I'll hear the bomb again.
Welcome back, folks. Here we go to your voice counts. Thank you for staying aboard with us. And I just wanted to finish up this little short paragraph here, and then we'll get on to our very good friend and ally, Jeff Blankfort, and we're going to get him on the air. And folks, you're in for a treat this evening, because this guy he's something else. But it's just, we get so many great guests on this show. I'm just humbled by so many great guests, and Jeffrey is one of the top-notch ones that we're going to have on this evening. But I'm going to finish here. It says, actually, the American people need to be supported, and the public, particularly veterans, need to be educated about the USS Liberty and learn the true nature of America's trusted ally. Boy, that one almost made me want to just regurgitate, but a trusted ally. They murder Americans, and our government covers it up for 45 years, and they're a trusted ally, and with 300 to 400 nuclear weapons. Probably a bunch of them are pointed right at us, folks. Anyway, Jeff Blankfort is a Middle East analyst who has written extensively on the Israel-Palestine conflict. He is a former editor of the Middle East Labor Bulletin, a photojournalist, currently hosts a program on international affairs called Takes on the World, for KZYX. KZYX, please remember that. The public radio station of Mendocino, Medocino County, California. Now, Jeff, I probably destroyed that word a little bit, but I guess we can get it straight. But I would like you to start off, if you would, Jeff, because you are an expert in Middle East affairs, and I want your views on the USS Liberty first, and then we'll get into other issues. Welcome aboard, Jeff.
Glad to be with you, Phil. Yeah, actually, it's Mendocino.
Mendocino. Thank you, Jeff.
And later on, I can mention how people can listen to my archive narratives and interviews and the website where they can reach them. The Liberty is, for me, has been probably the most significant item or action in the history of Israel-U.S. relations, and has set the tone of those relations, but it's just part of a larger fifth column activity to undermine what's left of our democracy. But they got away, as the point you mentioned, they found that they could get away with killing Americans and trust occupied Washington, the White House occupied. It wasn't occupied under JFK, which is why we probably got LBJ. But I'll get into that a little later. Is that Israel was counting on and knew in advance, quite likely, was assured that the U.S. would do nothing to sanction Israel, to punish Israel for the crime of the attack on Liberty. And one of the most important things that developed was to keep that the survivors and the story of the attack out of the mainstream press. Now, I remember my first incident or first remembrance of the Liberty was a picture in the back of the New York Times, and shortly after the Six-Day War. And there was a picture of the Liberty full of holes shot up. The vessel that as was hauled in, and then the first time the American public, and the last time the American public had a chance to see it. Now, all these years, I have realized that if the American public, particularly veterans and their families, knew the story of the Liberty, American politics would change significantly. And the other side knows that as well. But for example, a few years back when I was living in San Francisco, they established a bronze plaque for all the San Franciscans who died in Vietnam. And I decided that I would make a one-page flyer, big enough for people to read, with a lot of information in it, and I made it 100 or so copies. And I went down to the plaza at the end of the Market Street in San Francisco, Justin Herman Plaza, and I passed out all my flyers to people who were there, and I held the flyer up so the three members of the Marine Color Guard who were there to celebrate their fallen comrades would be able to read this flyer. And I hear
Jeff,
some music coming out. We'll get back to that.
Jeff, we're going to go a break here, and then we got a long stretch coming up, and then we'll get right back to this. Thanks, and folks, remember your sponsors at RBN. You know, real talk, real people, because you can't handle the truth.
Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
Do you need that sustained boost of energy, but want a more natural way of attaining it without the jolt and crash or the jitters you get from coffee and energy drinks? Zoom Tea is the healthy, sugar-free pick-me-up for body, mind, and soul. Does your coffee help you with weight control, mental clarity, anti-cancer properties, or give you an immune system boost? How about helping to stabilize your blood pressure, reduce your cholesterol, and increase your regularity? Now you can have all these health benefits with Zoom Tea. Check out ZoomTea.com or call our friendly staff at 575-936-7000. That's 575-936-7000. A 1-month supply of Zoom Tea is only $20, and you get free shipping. Add chai seed to your order for only $12.95 to increase your benefits. Go to ZoomTea.com. That's ZoomTea.com to learn more.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
If you're the mother of a child with behavior problems, I'd like to talk to you. My name is Janet Lehman. I'm a behavioral therapist and a mom. I know what it's like when the child you love becomes a defiant, out-of-control child who disrespects you. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the program that tens of thousands of moms are now using to turn around their child's behavior. If you've heard about the Total Transformation and wondered if it will work for you, now you can try it for free. I'm willing to give away 1,000 programs today for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. We'll let you keep it for free. I know the Total Transformation works because I used these techniques with my own son and with troubled kids for over 30 years. Let me prove to you that it works by giving you the program for free.
Call now. 1-800-583-1093. 1-800-583-1093. That's 1-800-583-1093.
That the ship moved farther out to sea. There were too many errors and too much time wasted. The bombs were coming down. It would be too late for liberty. Oh, please, can you tell me why so many of my brothers died? Was it some sort of game of treason? Or was it just some kind of horrible lie?
Welcome back, folks. Here we go to Your Voice Counts. Thank you for hanging in there with us. And again, Kat, thank you so much for your beautiful, beautiful voice. And I forgot to mention her husband, Rick, is also an artist, and he plays the keyboard. And he contributes very much to the songs and what he does. And thank you, Rick. Thank you, Kat, for your beautiful, beautiful songs. And Jeff, I was thinking during the break, you said something I thought that was very poignant. You said, set the tone, set the tone. And that's, to me, that is 2 words or 3 words that mean a lot. And you set that up pretty well. And the tone is still set for the last 45 years, isn't it?
Well, it is, but you know something? With a little bit of money and a lot of elbow grease, we could turn the country around. Because to me, the Israel lobby, I call it an alternative government, with using the media and their think tanks, which they control in Washington. They own them, it's their city, and they got a stranglehold over Congress. I've been at the last 2 AIPAC conferences speaking against AIPAC in the counter conference, but these are like Nuremberg rallies. They're triumphal rallies of people who know that they run that city, and that city is the capital of all Americans, and the public needs to find out about it, but they're not going to find out about it, not only most of the mainstream press, most of what passes for the alternative press. But I actually wanted to get back to the situation that I was describing in San Francisco, where you have a crowd of 100 people or so. At least there are enough people there to take all my flyers about the history of the story of the Liberty, and then hold the flyer up so the Marine Color Guard could read it and had the time to read it. And usually something like this, they may think, well, I'm some kind of a crank and tell me to leave. But not only did this not happen, people came up to me and thanked me for putting this flyer out because they didn't know about it. They had heard a little bit about it, but if people took their own initiative, and with computers, we could make our own flyers. It doesn't cost that much to do that. We could go to supermarkets, outside of supermarkets, particularly on Memorial Day or before July 4th, or before elections, something in which you could make demands. You don't ask your member of Congress or something. You demand from Congress. They're, after all, getting their money out of our pocketbooks. In any case, my experience on that situation in visiting friends of mine in VA hospitals, I always bring up Liberty. And most people know nothing about it. I'm talking about vets. And there's never been a case where they haven't gotten angry. And what we need to do is get people angry. And then when they're angry, they'll act. And around the Liberty, I used to have a friend of mine, George Green, who was an Army vet, who died maybe more than 15 years ago. And he was dedicated to telling the story of the Liberty. He was working with setting up the library in Wisconsin, in which the people were trying to do that, the Liberty Library. I believe it was Wisconsin.
Yeah, Grafton, Wisconsin. In fact, the two fellows that put up all the money, that Ben and Ted Grove, were extremely good friends of mine, and also the Grants deserve a lot of credit, and the Dickmans for making sure that library went through. And it's quite a tribute to the USS Liberty, Jeff, and I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, I'll tell you, I remember how they were subjected to attack, being called, of course, the first refuge of scoundrels, in this case, anti-Semitic. The idea of telling a story of Americans killed by a foreign country makes you an anti-Semite. Is something, unfortunately, the rest of the public doesn't hear about that because for various reasons, the people don't want to talk, certain people don't want to talk about the Liberty. I mean, I just looked at a book by Norman Solomon, who is one of the leading, who's Jewish, and parents were Holocaust survivors. He's written some good critical books about Israel, but he's in denial when it comes to the power of the Jewish establishment. And in a 400-and-some-odd page book, I just looked, of course, I go to the index right away when I see a book about the Middle East. I look for the Liberty in the index. And in this particular book just out, it's called Knowing Too Much. The American Jewish romance with Israel is coming to an end. Well, Norman doesn't know what he's talking about, but that's typical. But I look it up, and there's one reference in the book to the Liberty, and then it recites a footnote, and the footnote simply says, Liberty was a ship attacked by the Israelis in 1967, and 34 sailors were killed, and 174 were wounded. I'm not sure what number he used. That's all. That's all. So if you're reading this book, this important event in U.S.-Israel relations gets a short shrift. Now, another thing about the situation about Syria. Here's something you may not know, because this is also hidden from the American public. When Israel became a country, they took a Moroccan Jew who had emigrated to Israel, and they sent him to Colombia in South America and gave him the identification to become a Syrian businessman. And he was a Syrian businessman for a number of years and became very wealthy thanks to Israel's influence. And because he'd been away from so-called Syria, which he had never been to, for so many years, he had lost the accent, which would have exposed him if he had just come from, let's say, it was an Israeli Arab who had snuck into Damascus. So at a certain point before the Six-Day War, they brought, his name was Eli Cohen, and they brought him back to Syria, and with bags full of money. Hello? Hello?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, and and with all his money started taking the Syrian military to parties and buying them whatever they wanted. And they took him out on the Golan Heights and showed him every Syrian gun emplacement which was ready to defend itself. If Syria needed to defend itself against Israel, all these gun emplacements were ready to take on Israel. And he made a note of every single one of them. So when Israel decided before 67 war, before they started the war, they decided they were going to take out Syria, and they had all the information in order to do it. And so on June 8th, I think it was that Saturday, or a day, maybe a day later.
I think it was Thursday, Jeff, when we got hit on June the 8th.
You were hit June the 8th, and so it was Saturday was the 10th. Anyway, they went into the Golan Heights and destroyed every Syrian gun emplacement because they knew exactly where they were. And this is what they didn't want the United States to know. Well, they didn't. The United States may already know, and people in the White House like McNamara and LBJ, but they didn't want the chief of staff, the military staff. They didn't want people who were dedicated to the United States not to bowing to Israel. They didn't want them to know, and that to me gives more evidence to the fact that the Liberty was taken out because the Israelis did not want a record of their plans to attack Syria. And after this happened, the Russians were monitoring radio transmissions from Syria, and they heard this guy, Eli Cohen, talking to his handler in Israel, and they turned him over to the Damascus, the Syrian government, and he was hanged. Now, the Syrians have never given back his body, which the Israelis are always demanding the bodies back, or whether their soldiers have been captured and suddenly become kidnapped children, like this Gilad Shalit, but they have never made this public demand for Syrians to give the government his Eli Cohen's body back, because they don't want the rest of the world to wonder how many other Eli Cohens are out there serving Israel. I know we got a bunch of them in this country, and yet you bring his name up, and I don't know anybody here who knows that story. And they don't know it because it's one of those stories they want to suppress because people will ask questions.
Well, Jeff, it's very interesting what you're saying, and I'm taking it all in, and I learned something all the time about the USS Liberty. But what always sticks with me, Jeff, is the fact that you just mentioned, the people that protect Israel. Our Congress, from LBJ up until the present administration, Obama administration, get on bended knees to do everything they can for Israel. Netanyahu gets 29 standing ovations in front of our Congress.
That's obscene.
It is obscene.
That's obscene. It was. I mean, on my radio program, I've called this time for treason, time for the largest treason trial in history. And I get away with actually saying this because the county I live in, Mendocino, as I tell people, is not Israeli-occupied territory. And the Anti-Defamation League, which was at least 20 years ago the largest private spying organization in the country, is afraid to go after me because they spied on me back in the late 80s, and I found out about it, and I sued them, and they were anxious to make a settlement, and since I wasn't looking for money, I was looking for me to be able to speak publicly about their spying operations and how they spied on every kind of group in this country that might have any connection with taking position on Israel. Irish Americans, Black Americans, Asian Americans, Mexican Americans, labor unions, some members of Congress, you name it. They were in the Bay Area. They had 10,000 names and 600 organizations. And so since I signed an agreement or refuse to sign a confidentiality agreement, they won't come anywhere near me. Although some people up here have complained about me, they won't come anywhere near me because they know I'll start talking about the case again. And it was pretty ugly. But this operation, they had an operator in Atlanta, Georgia. They had another one in Chicago that we know about. And the guy on the West Coast was their main operator. And I don't know where he is now, but I helped to expose him publicly. And I got attacked by name in the Jerusalem Post in Jerusalem, and by the Washington Jewish Week in Washington, and the Jewish Weekly Forward in New York. I mean, it's just slandered. But it's okay, because I knew I had struck home. And it cost them a lot of money to pay off organizations to accept them back into the fold. I mean, this brings up the vote last night of the Presbyterian Assembly of the USA, which once again, on the threshold of supporting sanctions or against or boycotting American companies that do business in the West Bank, they were intimidated, probably through money, which is the way they work, into voting by 2 votes, not to divest. 333 to 331 with 2 abstentions. And you wonder how well off the 2 abstentions are today. It's a great vote. It's the best vote yet. But here we are, how many years later, and the ball's no further down the field. And this is just a case of how the lobby, or whatever you want to call it, works. They're well organized, they're dedicated, they do not give up, and they do not forget who messes with them or goes against them, whether you're a member of Congress or a member of any of the churches in this country. And I should mention, this is not an accident that this has all come about. It was an organization called the American Zionist Council, founded by the Jewish Agency of Israel, which was responsible for immigration to Israel in the early years. And they started this American Zionist Council, which Senator James Fulbright, his investigators discovered, was using money contributed to Israel by Jewish Americans and other Americans to buy propaganda in the United States. And he held the hearings in 1963, in March of 63. And from that point on, Kennedy was the president. Under Bobby Kennedy, his Justice Department head, they were seriously trying to get the American Zionist Council to register as a foreign agency. And the Zionist Council's lawyers kept pushing off, and finally JFK was dead. And LBJ, who is the arms of the Israel lobby, very closely got hundreds of thousands of dollars, was their boy, and was their boy probably more than any president in history until the President Obama. Even George H.W. Bush, W's father, was one president to stand up to Israel, and it cost him the election. He refused to support giving Israel $10 billion in loan guarantees, and went before the American public when Congress threatened to override his veto. And he told the American public on September 12th, 1991, where 1,000 Jewish lobbyists were up on Capitol Hill pushing for this, the loan guarantees, when American economy was in the tank. And he said, here I am, one little old man against 1,000 lobbyists up on the Hill. What I have to do was right. And he told the American public how many dollars every man, woman, and child in Israel was getting from the U.S. taxpayers. And what was the response? 85%.
Jeff, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You know, I wanted to, excuse me, I didn't mean to break in on you, but I did want to mention, Jeff, that about 50 or 60 of us crew members were at the Rose Garden waiting to talk to the senior Bush, George H.
Yeah.
W. and Scowcroft and Sununu were there, and he was supposed to come out. Now the captain of the ship was there. He got the Medal of Honor.
Right.
There was a lot of other guys there. Purple Hearts, Bronze Stars, Combat V's, Purple Heart. I mean, just everything you could get. And for some reason, George H. Bush snuffed us, and the captain of the ship was in tears because we waited out there in the heat for about two and a half hours waiting to meet the President of the United States because we were invited there by him.
What day was that? What year?
That was at the end of the Gulf War.
Right.
When they came home and they had that parade, and we were in the Rose Garden, and he came by and waved, and that's the last we saw of him. And then when Scowcroft and Sununu come out, they said, "Would you guys like a tour of the White House?" And excuse me, yeah, well, part of the White House, but it was just disgusting that the Medal of Honor was tarnished, and all the rest of the crew was tarnished. And it was a very, very hot day, and we stood out there in line just waiting for the President because they said he'll be there any minute. He went by in his limousine and barely opened up the window and stuck out his fingers and waved, and that's the last we saw of the President. So
pretty depressing.
Yeah, it was very depressing. It was disheartening, but we've been treated that way for the last 45 years, and the war crimes. War crimes that Israel committed against us, shooting the life rafts, shooting at our unarmed people trying to save, people on deck, their firefighters and stretcher bearers, and, what's new. But the thing of it is that we have a Congress now that, of course, supports all of this garbage, and they support the war crimes. Now they're trying to get one of the biggest traitors ever in this country that's done more damage to this country than anybody ever, Jonathan Pollard, out of jail, and they're probably going to do it because they got the support of the Congress, and I think that probably Obama will do it. What are your thoughts on that, Jeffrey?
Well, if it wasn't for Caspar Weinberger, Pollard would have been out by now. But Weinberger took his job seriously, which is more than you could say for all other people who followed him or close to him in Washington. And he laid it out, the details of the crime that Pollard had committed. And for many years, most of the Jewish organizations in this country, other than the ultra kooks, the ones who want to take all over the Middle East, stayed away from his case. But in Obama, who was predicted to be the first Jewish president by Abner Mikva, a lawyer who had served in the Clinton administration, a week before the election, in the Chicago Jewish Daily News, they figured Obama is a wimp, and he has actually done more for Israel than any of his predecessors, and they still demand more. So I had predicted that still predict that if Obama wanted to go to Israel, he would have to do something so dramatic that would get him support in Israel, a country that should have nothing to do with American politics, and from the Jewish establishment here. By the way, the majority of American Jews might as well be Protestants when it comes to this issue. It's a dedicated core of maybe 25-30% who put Israel before anything else. The rest don't even know what's going on and don't want to know what's going on, which is worse. But anyhow, I think the reason Obama did not go to Israel is that the chances of him coming back alive would not be very good. Because in Israel, you have really people who are absolute lunatics but they're not individuals. They represent a whole number of lunatics, like even the assassin of their own prime minister, Yitzhak Rabin, is a hero to most of the people in the settlements. And Israel itself knows that it can't even control people in its own military, that should Obama make a trip without doing something for Israel that's more dramatic, because they expect arms, like a baby expects milk from its mother, they expect arms for nothing and more every year. If Obama went to Israel without freeing Pollard, then the chances of him coming back would be slim. And the Israelis also, the Netanyahu government knows it could not offer Obama guarantees that he would be safe. And the American president could not go to Israel and just hide. He'd have to be out in the public. If he went there, like he flew into Bagram or Air Force Base, or slipped into Air Force Base in Pakistan or Iraq, he couldn't do that. It would be publicly embarrassing. He has to go and be very public. He can't do that to Israel. And so there's a big question whether he's going to do it before the election. It's kind of a gamble. But he's giving more and more money to Israel and bowing so low that if he's not careful, he won't be able to stand up again. I call it the abomination, what we're living in today. And the guy is a snake oil salesman like Bill Clinton was, who was the first president who followed Bush Sr. in turning the government over to Israel without exception. So I don't...
Well, Jeff, I think that President Clinton certainly gave over at least the Oval Office to Monica Lewinsky, and I believe she's Jewish, wasn't she?
She was Jewish, yes.
And do you think that was by coincidence? I don't.
I used to think a number of things were coincidence, but I think anything is possible. It's your music.
Jeff, hang on, yeah. Sir. We got to go to a break.
Right.
Support your sponsors, folks. RBN, real news, real talk, real people, because you can't handle the truth. We'll see in just a moment. We got a caller we got to take too, so we'll catch you in just a few minutes, folks. Remember, RBN, support your sponsors.
Of the Real News Radio. I want to tell you about a must-have complete solar.
Thank you. Thank you. Here we go, folks. I hit the mute again. I better watch what I'm doing. But anyway, here we're back again to Your voice counts. I appreciate you hanging on. This is hour 2 of the first 2-hour show I've done since way back when we did the Liberty Hour. But anyway, thanks for hanging on. And we have a couple guests here, Jeff, that Rachel's been hanging on for a long, long time. And I want to get her on, and she's such a very honest and grateful guest and has so many wonderful things to say. But I always have a issue here, a pledge that I'll always take a survivor that comes on first. And Ron Kukul is on the line, and then Rachel, I'm going to bring you right back up. So Rachel, please hang on. Don't get mad at me. Welcome aboard, shipmate, and welcome, Jeff Blankfort to the show. Go ahead, Ron.
Thanks, Phil. I knew you would do that. Would you allow me, please, to let Rachel go first?
Absolutely. Rachel, come on up. Yes. Hello, Rach. Hello, Rachel.
Okay. The left, and they'll have the left placed down the lobby. Israel lobby in the left. Pardon me? Hello?
Go ahead, Rach. Hello? Start all over again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was reading Israel lobby in the left, and it's true. The biggest power that AIPAC has over our Congress and our government officials and our president. Any president that tells Israel to stop building illegal settlements or says something against Israel regarding Palestine, they don't get reelected. It's really a shame. Also, I see you have you're working with Phil Weiss, and I commend him too because he's also very anti-Zionist, and he happens to be Jewish. And I know a lot of Jewish people are anti-Zionists. I know quite a few of them. And he wrote an article about my friend James Morris and his exchange with General Petraeus. And I think that was a very good article he did, among many others. And I want to tell you, too, you're talking about Chomsky in there. He really downplays the lobby. I went to a meeting, my first and last one, last night at the Answer Coalition. And this lady, Sarah Flounders.
Oh, yes.
Her name is. You probably know she knows she is. Yes. And she kept downplaying it. She was saying that we're going into the war with Syria and all these countries in the Middle East because of corporations. And I said, it's not corporations. We're going in there because of Israel. And she kept downplaying it, just playing the Chomsky line,
I would say Chomsky is a strategic asset for Israel. He has been. I also wrote an article. You might be interested in reading.
Here we go again. We got another break coming
even
up.
Colin Powell said.
Rachel and Jeff, we got another break coming up. Hang on, please. We'll get you right back. Ron Kukul, we'll get you in, buddy. Don't worry about it. Again, support your sponsors, RBN. Real news, real talk, because you can handle the truth. See you in just a minute.
Chlorine, fluoride, pathogens, and more are in the water you drink day to day. Do you want the ability to remove and reduce those harmful things in the water you drink? You can. How? With a Berkey water filter. A complete standalone gravity filter system that requires no electricity and no plumbing. Used for emergencies or for every day. Berkey systems come in 7 different sizes. Where can you get one? From GetBerkey.com. That's GetBerkey.com. With the purchase of each system, you get 50% off accessories, such as fluoride filters, water level spigot, and sport bottles. Plus free shipping on all orders over $25. For a limited time, get 5% off all ceramic systems when you use coupon code RBN. Call Get Berkey at 855-GET-BERKEY. That's 855-438-2375. Or visit GetBerkey.com. That's GetBerkey.com.
Don't answer it! How can I stop these annoying collection calls?
Imagine being free from your debt without settling and with no payment plan, no negotiating or filing bankruptcy, and no attorneys. What if you could eliminate the risk from all your unsecured debt in about 90 days and keep all your money? You can. It's called Zero Debt Guarantee, and it works. There's no other program of its kind on the planet, and we guarantee the results in writing. Call now, 800-477-9256. Let our team of experts provide you with the resources to fight back, stop collection calls, and prevent and stop wage garnishments and bank levies. If you're facing foreclosure, we can help. Don't go it alone. Get free information now by calling 800-477-9256. Talk to an expert who has also completed our program. Call 800-477-9256 for free info, or go to ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com. That's 800-477-9256, or go to ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com.
As business becomes more difficult, control of cash and the ability to borrow becomes critical. Working capital cash is your greatest insurance and guarantee of financial stability in these uncertain times. Equipment leasing allows you to obtain the income-producing equipment that your business needs and pay for it with tax-free, ever-devaluing dollars. Money that you've already earned and paid taxes on should be sparingly used. That is your reserve capital, safety net. We are also able to buy and lease back equipment that you already own and have depreciated, thereby making more cash available for your present-day needs. For a complete, comprehensive explanation as to how this financial truth will benefit your business future, call Bob New Incorporated at 888-639-2621. 888-639-2621. Keep your working capital cash reserves and borrowing capability. 888-639-2621.
Well, the time has finally come for the story to be told that should have been listened to a long time ago.
Welcome back, folks. Here we go to the second hour. We got a little bit of run here, then we got a long run, and maybe a little bit longer run. But listen, we got, excuse me, we got Rachel up. I wanted to finish off, and of course we got Ron Kukul, and then we got Jeff in Missouri. So I want to get all these callers up. And
Mendocino.
Oh, yeah. And let's
long way from Missouri.
Do. Oh, okay. We'll get you up. Don't worry about it, Jeff. And thanks for calling in, folks. And I'll tell you, thank you, Jeffery Blankfort, for being on Your Voice Counts. It's a great honor, sir. You're a great American, and you know a lot about what's going on in this world, and we appreciate your knowledge and you know, giving us a little bit of your time. So, Rachel, if you'd like to go ahead and finish up your conversation with Jeff, we'll get that taken care of.
And then I had a question for him real quick, too.
Sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to mention, before the question, I want to mention that about half a dozen years ago, I wrote an article called Damage Control, Noam Chomsky and the Israel-Palestine Conflict, in which I make an argument, which if I rewrote the article would even be stronger today, that in fact what he's doing is damage control for Israel. He's like a Pied Piper who has done a lot to educate, to say, the American left, such as it is, but then has led it down path. So everything possible that's bad in the world is done by the United States. And then Chomsky, who admitted he was a Zionist in his youth, he spoke Hebrew in his home, refuses to blame Israel for anything it's done. He talks about Israel's crimes, and then but who's responsible? It's America, because America gives him the money. But Chomsky never talks about Congress. As a matter of fact, he pays no attention to it. And in 1991, after the first Gulf War, he was speaking in Berkeley, and an Iraqi-American friend of mine asked him what the role was of the Israel lobby in fomenting Iraq War I, and Chomsky dismissed it. And of course, the Jews in the audience, who were many anti-Zionists, quote, they all applauded, which was not a surprise. By the way, the term anti-Zionist doesn't mean anything for me. If you agree, if you don't think the American Jewish establishment, which is the American Zionist establishment, is manipulating and controlling and influencing U.S. Middle East policy, you could say you're an anti-Zionist from here to the moon, and it won't mean anything to me.
Okay, Rach, go ahead and respond, and go ahead and ask your question, please.
Okay. Well, Sarah Flounders, who's a big Chomsky follower, well, she said she's the secretary of the Workers' World Party, which is a socialist party, as you know, and she was talking about how corporations, and I kept yelling, and James Morris was there, and he kept yelling too. AIPAC's the one that's getting us into these wars, and we're doing it for Israel, and we got finally kicked out. But even Colin Powell said that we were in there for Israel, and you know what happened to him? He had to step down. But can you tell us about the Jinsa crowd? Kind of elaborate on that?
The Jinsa crowd. That's what he said. It was the Jinsa crowd.
Yeah.
Jinsa, if it was AIPAC alone, they would have not had the influence. AIPAC is part of a network, spider web, key part, but only a part, of a network that includes JINSA, the Jewish Institute for National Security Association, which I'll get back to in a moment, all the major think tanks in Washington. The one that's always quoted on NPR, National Public Radio, and in the New York Times and the Washington Post, called the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. And they are a major influence on U.S. policy. AIPAC invented or created this organization in 1985 in order to be inside the White House, not just a lobby group. AIPAC is no longer a lobby. It's like it's up on the desk. It's an officer of the Israeli Navy in occupied America, but it's just one. It's just one player. And then the JINSA was started in 1976. After President Ford had threatened to stop all aid to Israel and threatened to direct Israel to give up all the occupied territories. And in fact, his Secretary of State, who was none other than Henry Kissinger, was so upset with Israel because Israel would not give up land it had captured from Egypt in 1973 that Kissinger advised Ford to make this speech that he was going to make, but never did, warning Israel what was going to happen to them if Israel did not withdraw. And within 3 weeks, AIPAC had 76 senators across the whole political spectrum, George McGovern to Senator Hunt, whatever, warning the president, warning in crude terms that he better not mess with the Israel-U.S. relationship. This was 1976. But what did happen, Israel did not get U.S. jets for 6 months. Okay, so 76 next year comes along. And a group of what we now call neocons got together and they decided that they were going to make the U.S. military and Israeli military relationship so strongly entwined that no future administration would be able to break them. And what they did was they seduced a number of former generals, former admirals, number of police chiefs and so on, but mainly the generals and admirals, and they put them on their advisory board, no doubt with some monetary perks, and became a major player in Washington in influencing U.S. foreign policy and working on the Pentagon. So when General Petraeus made a statement that the U.S. impasse with Israel, the Israel-Palestine connection, which James Morris exposed, when he made that statement in Congress, JINSA got all its generals and admirals, ex-generals and admirals, to write a statement denouncing Petraeus. Now that didn't get into the mainstream media, but it sent a message to Petraeus that he would only go so far as the Jewish establishment would allow him. And that is so there is JINSA. Now recently they had a split because the woman who was running JINSA, who was a long-time Israel firster, made some statements that some people disagreed with, and so she quit. So, but JINSA is still JINSA, and even though there are differences of opinions among the various Jewish organizations, when it comes down to action on behalf of Israel, they lock arms. So JINSA, as I say, is just one group, but AIPAC also has networks as branches all over the country who have their own meetings in the winter and the summer, in which some major government official or governor or senator from another state comes to town and gives a talk, and they raise money, and the press is not invited or informed about it, and neither is the press informed about it in the hometown of the governor or the senator. So you had Mario Cuomo speaking in California suburbs in Walnut Creek, telling Israel back in the 80s they shouldn't give up the West Bank because we didn't give up Texas. I mean, this is the kind of mentality we have, but the mainstream press never talked about it, and I used to edit this Middle East Labor Bulletin, which Chomsky was a subscriber of, by the way, and I had a 2 or 4 page section every issue about how the lobby, the Congress, and our state officials were being seduced and selling out to Israel, and yet nobody else wanted to even pick up on this. So it's pretty depressing, and what's called the left has been described by a critic of Israel named Lenny Brenner as the rear guard of the Israel lobby. And I don't know whether it's the front lines or the rear guard, but the American left is just another aspect or another sector of American society that is dominated or intimidated or infiltrated or whatever by the Zionist establishment. And so when I see Sarah Flounders or Dick Becker, who was one of the originals of Answer, and the Workers' World, whatever they call themselves, he just wrote a book or a year or two ago on Israel, Palestine, and the U.S. And the first 3 chapters were devoted to explaining why the lobby was not the problem. Imagine a book on Israel, Palestine, and the U.S., and you feel obligated to write 3 chapters on why it's not Israel. I suggest Dick Becker is working for Israel, whether he independently, on his own, whatever, but in practical fact, most of the organization and peace groups and Palestine solidarity groups are, in fact, doing Israel's work. They don't even discuss the lobby at their conferences. I mean, I could go into some ugly detail, but I'll let you ask another question or comment.
Well, Jeff, I'll tell you, you answered that about as good as anybody could, and I learned a lot from that, and I think Rachel did too. And Rachel, we got more callers, and thank you, dear, for calling in. Please call in next week, and you know, we appreciate your support for USS Liberty and all you've done, and it just means a lot to everybody. Thank you, Rach, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Now we're going to bring up Ron Kukul, USS Liberty survivor, petty officer in charge of body recovery and identification, and after that we got Jeff in Missouri. So let's go ahead with Mr. Ron Kukul. All right, Ron, hang on, buddy. We got a break, and we'll get you right back at the break, okay? And folks, support your sponsors on RBN. Real news, real talk, real people, because you can't handle the truth. We'll see you in just a minute, folks. Thank you.
As many of you know, natural supplements are fantastic for your body and have 0 side effects. You need to restore your body's natural balance. TerraVim strives to carry only the highest quality dietary supplements and natural vitamins that can be beneficial in helping your body recover from the impact of daily stress, allergens, illness, environmental pollution, and the aging process. Why buy from TerraVim? Simple. TerraVim provides a rewards program. Earn $1 for every $10 spent, free health consultations, free shipping on all orders, and an additional 10% discount on every order when you mention the coupon code RBN. Call 866-647-4372. That's 866-647-4372, or go to terravim.com. That's TerraVim.com. TerraVim, the best supplements on earth.
Do you flinch when a police car appears in your rearview mirror or you get pulled over? Are you squeamish when an envelope arrives in the mail with the return address of a court, a government agency like the IRS, or some law firm? Would you like to escape government agency harassment? Then visit escapeharassment.com. George Bush allegedly says, the government constitution is nothing but a doggone piece of paper. Well, that's a contract. A contract is an offer acceptance of that offer, at which point a contract arrives by law and the offerer can no longer withdraw the offer. We teach, do not accept. That way there is no contract or agreement for you to go to their court or private club meeting. To escape government agency harassment like the IRS, visit escapeharassment.com. This is a tried and proven experienced process, not experimental, with a money-back guarantee that it works and success testimonials from previous students. Remember, escapeharassment.com. That's escapeharassment.com.
Herbal Healer Academy's new summer specials. Our 500 parts per million colloidal silver, all sizes on sale. Organic liquid iodine, liquid cal, meg, vitamin D, CoQ10 with hawthorn, colon enhancer, Super 2, natural laxative, our exceptional product Connexin, memory power, and Super Male and Femplex. All on sale for the summer at herbalhealer.com. Also, 10% off on the HHA Survival Course. This is an important time to have this information. Might save your life. Nation's leader in supplying quality natural medicine and education. herbalhealer.com. Free online newsletter. Quality natural medicine supplier since 1988. We ship the same day you place your order. Free 128-page catalog with your first order. Go to herbalhealer.com today. herbalhealer.com.
Well, finally, the ocean shoes back to Washington sends out a message that the ship will farther out to sea.
Welcome back, folks. Here we go to Your Voice Counts. I appreciate you hanging on with us. I appreciate you hanging on, Ron, and I want to thank you, especially last week, for co-hosting the show and doing a great job with Colonel Wilkerson. And, you know, it means a lot to me that you did that, and that, you know, folks, when the United States of America got attacked on our ship, the USS Liberty, they did not just attack the USS Liberty, they attacked all of America. So, folks, don't forget that. That was an act of war, and it's war crimes against all of us, not just you and me. Mr. Kukul, please go ahead.
Hey, Phil, how you doing tonight?
Good, good, good.
Yeah,
how you
good.
doing, Ron?
Good. No jokes or any comments about walkers, crutches, or anything like that tonight, right?
No. Oh, you're in better health than I am.
Okay, Mr. Blankfort, I want to say good evening to you, and also, Kat, if you're listening, I hope that you're feeling better. Just a short comment. I don't like to take up a whole lot of time. There's other callers, or there will be other callers. Not so long ago, we had former Senator Adlai Stevenson on our radio show. He said point blank that he did all he could as the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee to try to get an honest congressional investigation. He said, and I spoke to him long before he came on the show by email, that there were no takers, with the exception of possibly Senator Barry Goldwater. I can't even say angry is the word for me. I think it's more like livid that people that run this country, that are in Congress, would tell people like Senator Adlai Stevenson that, well, I can't do this. I don't want to do this because I want to make sure I get reelected. I got to tell you, if it's possible to regurgitate on the phone, I would, because that's not what we were taught. That's not what we were taught as Americans. And if we're going to stand for Israel, we might as well move the whole country over there, because that's exactly what's going on. And I just want to make this comment that I don't think in my worst day and the worst things that I've done in my life I could sink as low as those people that said they didn't care about congressional investigation. So, Jeffrey, I don't want to, like I said, I don't like to take up a lot of time. and it's Phil knows that my blood pressure goes up quite a little bit. I just want to make that comment to you, and I'd like you to, at least respond a little bit on that.
Well, I have to keep. I just had a little medical problem a little while ago, so I have to keep my blood pressure down. But there's nothing that stimulates or wakes me up, for the wrong reasons, than reading the newspaper or going on the internet or seeing. I got emails from everybody around the world on this issue, and seeing what Congress took a vote on the 9th of May to reconfirm the unbreakable relationship between Israel and the United States, and as mutual friends, allies, whatever. And in that resolution was a call for the U.S. to push for Israel to become a member of NATO. Now, the vote was 411 to 2. 411 to 2. The two were Ron Paul, who could be counted on to vote that way, and when he doesn't give a damn about what people think of his position on Israel. At least I hope he never changes. And actually a Palestinian American with the Tea Party who made him a member of Congress in Michigan, who is actually now remembering where he's coming from, and he voted against that. And maybe half a dozen people voted present or abstained, which really shows they had no courage. And it's a pathetic sign that our Congress has occupied territory, but where is the outrage? You know what happens? That vote is not reported on in the alternative media nor in the mainstream media. Nothing. I mean, years ago, a magazine called Lies of Our Times, which was talking about the New York Times, the editor asked me to write an article on the Israel lobby on aid to Israel. And I went back 8 years, and I could not find any article in the New York Times that mentioned aid to Israel. When they talked about foreign aid, they never mentioned the amount to Israel. Now, if America loves Israel, Americans love Israel as much as we're told, why would they not talk about this? Why would not all these congressmen who sold their soul to Israel not put this on their site? When you open their site, like you should find something that says that I support Israel, undyingly support for Israel, but you have to really look for it, look hard to find a statement from a member, senator of the Congress supporting Israel to the extent that they do. But that's simply to get money from wealthy Jews who contribute more money to the political party, political elections, than any other group in the United States. And that's a fact. In just another comment, in 2000, year 2000, the Mother Jones magazine, which is a liberal magazine.
Here we go again. Here we go. Good, Jeff. We got a little break. Then we got about an 18-minute run, and so it should be an outstanding end to the show. Ron, hang on. Jeff will bring you right up. Remember, support your sponsors on RBN. Real talk, real news, people, because you can handle the truth. Take care. I'll see you in a minute.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
A healthy heart starts with Extendovite. I've always believed that I had to have a strong defense to overcome the new superbugs of today. Extendovite, a 7-herb heart protection cocktail, not only helped me to overcome a massive heart attack, but it also has built up my natural immune defenses against colds and flus. Extendovite has so many benefits that we all should be taking Extendovite to build up our defenses for what superbugs might emerge yet. So start today, clean out the toxins, and be as healthy as you can be. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
If you're the mother of a child with behavior problems, I'd like to talk to you. My name is Janet Lehman. I'm a behavioral therapist and a mom. I know what it's like when the child you love becomes a defiant, out-of-control child who disrespects you. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the program that tens of thousands of moms are now using to turn around their child's behavior. If you've heard about the Total Transformation and wondered if it will work for you, now you can try it for free. I'm willing to give away 1,000 programs today for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. We'll let you keep it for free. I know the Total Transformation works because I used these techniques with my own son and with troubled kids for over 30 years. Let me prove to you that it works by giving you the program for free.
Call now. 1-800-583-1093. 1-800-583-1093. That's 1-800-583-1093.
They said that Israeli forces knew not of the liberty's true identity, and so they took advantage of the serenity. They attacked the silent ship, making a 40-foot hole in the starboard, killing 34 and wounding almost 200 more.
Welcome back, folks. Here we go to the, we got 18 minutes and a little bit more than that before the show's off. But if you listen to Kat's song, they took advantage of the serenity. Folks, it was serenity. We were 14 miles off the coast. It was a beautiful, sunny day. Our flag was flying. We had people on the deck sunbathing, not doing anything but serving our country like we were told to do. And the Israelis started the murderous attack and slaughtered Americans on the high seas, only for the fact of their own benefit. Now, here we've had in Colorado terrible fires. We've had storms all over the country. We've had this. We've had hurricanes. We've had everything else. But I don't see many shekels. I don't see many American dollars coming back from Israel to help Americans. Why is that? I wonder why. Well, I think it's because they're greedy and they want what they want, and they will get it when they can take it, and our Congress and our presidents will give it to them. Ron, Jeff, go ahead. We've got James Morris coming up too. But Ron, go ahead and finish up your question to Jeff, and then we'll go on with the show, please.
I just want to finish up by saying this, Phil. If any of these people back from that time are listening, with the exception of Adlai Stevenson, which I have the greatest respect for, he simply told me in so many words that you guys that were the crew on the Liberty that survived this, I salute you all. That's pretty good coming from a senator, and I still have that email. But I just want to say this. If any of them are listening, if any of their sons are listening, or their daughters, would you ask your father or whoever he might be how he can wake up in the morning and look at himself? Could he leave this earth knowing what he's done to his own people? That's all I got to say.
Okay,
Robert McNamara left this earth, and he kept it to himself. I tell you what, I wouldn't want to take it to a higher court. So that's it, Phil.
Well, listen, you're right, and so did LBJ, but Ward Boston didn't.
That's
he
right.
certainly did. He told the truth, and we know all about it. And James Morris was a big deal getting that done at the State Department when I got shut down. But God bless you, Ron. God bless you, shipmate. Calling again. Take care of yourself. Take care of you. Love your wife. And you are a young 79-year-old man. I'll tell you that. Love you.
Thank you. Phil, you did it. You did it again. God bless America.
I know it. Okay, Jeff, Missouri, go ahead up, please.
Well, Ron, you were telling it like it is, and McNamara had a very bad memory when asked about it. It was pretty sad. I mean, these people take jobs, they swear on the Constitution. It doesn't mean anything to them. It's a piece of paper. And it's disgusting for me. Take Senator Stevenson. Stevenson spoke out in the Senate and criticized Israel. Was it republished? Was it published in a newspaper? I mean, I have in my paper files, I copied some of his remarks because they're outstanding. But the reality now is you can't do that and get away with it without being targeted by the Israeli establishment, West Coast. Or I mean, we're essentially a colony of Israel. It's like, you remember, Britain was a very small country, but it had huge colonies like India, for example. And the United States essentially, when Netanyahu comes to Washington, Obama kisses his hem. Obama, to me, is worse than any of them, a long line of what we call the British term lick-spittles, bootlickers. The term describes itself, what it is. You don't need to go to a dictionary. But Bill Clinton came in and he cleared out all the so-called Arabists in the State Department, all of them, and replaced them with what the Israelis call warm Jews. A warm Jew is a Jew that loves Israel and lives in another country. And so he replaced them, and then the political battles were between the warm Jews and the extra hot Jews, and the rest of the American public, since the time of Bill Clinton, has been excluded from discussing this issue. This is incredible. And they don't discuss it in the schools, of course, because they're fed so much propaganda, paid free propaganda to propagate this miracle of Israel. It's unbelievable. And I've been a school teacher, and I look at the textbooks and you say, you know, well, they lie about a lot of things, but this one affects us every day, because right now they're pushing, trying to get us into another war with Iran. And not only are they so powerful, but we have sanctions against Iran that are incomparable in past history. But we're also sanctioning our allies if they don't collaborate with our sanctions, which were written up literally by AIPAC and given to Howard Berman in Congress, who ran for Congress in San Fernando Valley, and said, I did it to help Israel. Now, for me, that's treasonous to talk. But when you mention that to people like Chomsky or Sarah Flounders, who Rachel mentioned, they totally ignore it because they are not even in denial. They are doing damage control. This is why I have nothing to do with them, period. I used to, and found out that they were my biggest opponents. In the left were more of a problem for me than with the AIPAC people or the ADL people. Because those are the people who were actually the activists, so-called mobilizing for Palestine, wouldn't even touch the liberty issue. And I remember telling my friend George Green, who spent a great deal of his life, he died 15 years ago, George and I agreed that if the American public knew about the liberty, the truth about the liberty, it would change everything. And we not only have to deal with the open Israeli firsters, but the subtle ones who pretend to be critical of Israel or critical of U.S. policy toward Israel, and supportive of the Palestinian state. All this is, to me, is nonsense. If they don't recognize the main enemy in this country and focus on what Americans care about, which is what is done in their name, and the money given, their money given for essentially starting wars, this to me, things can be changed, but until and unless that happens, it's only going to get worse.
I'll tell you, Jeff, very, very astute conversation, and I think you got it nailed pretty good. Mr. Blankfort, do you want to go ahead and address Jeff's comments? That was Jeff.
That was me.
Well, that was you.
Yes.
Okay, we had. Okay.
I could address my comment. I could do that very. But
well, you know what? I tell you, I thought because we had two Jeffs here, and I'll tell you what we'll do with that one. And I apologize, folks. Is thanks, Mike, for keeping me straightened out again here. Like I say, this is the first 2-hour show I've done in a while. But Jeff, I'm going to bring up James Morris. He's
right.
you know James. He's a scholar. He's a guy that's no dummy, and I'll tell you, he works hard for the USS Liberty. So welcome aboard, James, to Your Voice Counts.
Well, thanks for taking my call. Thanks for the kind words. Thanks for mentioning the website, ushijack.com, and it's good to be on there with Jeff Blankfort. We go back years, and he's as eloquent about the pro-Israel lobby influence in America as anyone I know, and I think that's been demonstrated in this program already. He had mentioned Bill Clinton. I think we should note that Bill Clinton was actually the first president to speak before AIPAC, and I just think that that's something that we should take note of. And Jeff, you were in mid-sentence with Phil, and you were talking about something really interesting. I've got quite a few points to go through, and I'm glad we're in the long segment of the show. You had said something about the 1,000 Jewish lobbyists after George, Bush's father, George H.W. Bush, had tried to cut off the loan guarantees, and I remember Senator Schumer, another guardian for Israel.
Oh, God, yes.
And he was up there, and he was behind the move to stop that from happening. And I think he was even at one of the AIPAC conferences in recent years in D.C. saying he was a guardian of Israel in Hebrew. I mean, I don't know what more you need than that. I remember that. And fortunately, we saw that on C-SPAN, or we wouldn't have ever seen that probably.
I don't even computer.
Yeah, I don't even know if AIPAC even had that at its website. It might have. But
probably
the thing
not.
is, probably not, exactly. But the thing is this. You were cut off just in mid-sentence because Phil had something really interesting to add, what he'd mentioned about the White House with Bush's father, But you'd said something about 85% after you mentioned the 1,000 Jewish lobbyists that opposed George H.W. Bush. Could you just continue that?
Yeah, right after Bush made his press conference, unprecedented press conference, speaking to the American people, and it was mind-blowing. It's unprecedented, and the first polls taken showed, I forget if it was CBS or ABC, showed 85% of the public supported Bush's position.
Look at that.
And it's 6 weeks later, 2 months later, it's been a while since I remembered it. The American public was polled on aid to foreign countries. 75 to 77% supported aid to Poland. This was after East European had been liberated. It's about the same number, 75% supported aid to Russia. 45 to 47 supported aid to Israel.
Look at that.
Now, the interesting thing, they have all these polls that are deliberately set up to fool the people and give ammunition not only to AIPAC, but to the Chomskys and their ilk. And I don't see any difference between Chomsky and AIPAC, except one is effective in one area, and Chomsky does his job, the AIPAC job, in another area. Anyway, the polls now only ask, who do you prefer, the Israelis or the Palestinians?
Yeah.
And, of course, given the propaganda, it's obvious who's going to win. Also, the irrelevancy of that question to American people.
Well, Jeff, look at the situation. Look at the situation I had with Cindy McCain. I had a pretty close friendship with Cindy McCain over the past year and a half. I mean, it's been longer than that now. We're not really in touch anymore. I received an email about a month ago, but we're not in touch like we were. And I brought up because I'd always thought she cared about children around the world, and I thought that if I could get the truth to her about what was happening with Israel-Palestine, she would care. And she came back when we had talked about this with nothing but AIPAC propaganda. She didn't even know anything about how the UN had been hit with white phosphorus by Israel and Gaza, and she didn't know anything about the food being cut off. She said, "Oh, that's Hamas cutting off the food. Israel lets as much food and supplies get through the crossings. It's all Hamas's fault." And she was just reiterating AIPAC propaganda, But anyway, I've just got some points I wanted to touch on here quickly. I was taking notes throughout the show. Phil had brought up Jonathan Pollard and how the Israel lobby now is pushing to get him released. I think an interesting thing about that as well is that Jinsen, or at least Jinsa-associated, Jim Woolsey, with the CIA director, is also pushing for Pollard's release. But isn't that interesting how Woolsey, brags that he holds up the Presbyterian wing of Jinsa, and he basically is with the Jewish Institute for National Security Affairs as well. And I think what was also interesting is last week we had Colonel Wilkerson on, and I had the honor of co-hosting the show with Liberty survivor Ron Kukla, who just called in. And Wilkerson was trying to, basically say that, Dick Cheney, who's also associated with Jinsa, or was associated with Jinsa, probably still is. Exactly, and also with the Project for the New American Century, which is changed in name only. It's now the Foreign Policy Initiative that Bill Kristol's up there with, in the Emergency Committee for the Defense of Israel, all that stuff that he runs or is associated with. Anyway, what Colonel Wilkerson was trying to say, and I had my friend Steve Stagowski, who you've interviewed on your radio show as well for his excellent The Transparent Cabal book, he was trying to say that Dick Cheney wasn't doing it for Israel. And what we were trying to say in reply, is that it basically didn't mean that he was necessarily an Israel firster, but he was associated with these Israel firsters. And he had policy advisors like David Wurmser, who had an Israeli Likudnik wife. And David Wurmser was his Middle East advisor involved with the writing of the clean break agenda that Iraq was based on, and we're about to see it get expanded to Syria. And, I mean, these advisors obviously have influence, so you wouldn't have them in those positions, Jeff. And who put people like Richard Pearl, who was associated with AIPAC and also Jinsa, in at the Defense Policy Board? Who put Douglas Feith in at the Office of Special Plans, at the Pentagon? And Colonel Wilkerson had even told me that he was behind the distorted intelligence from his Office of Special Plans that got us into Iraq. So what I'm trying to say is, he can say that, Cheney wasn't for Israel necessarily, but he was certainly pushing the neocon line with these advisors he had with him.
He actually changed his position because when he was with Daddy Bush, he was against the war with Iraq.
Exactly. And then people ask, well, why do these advisors have such influence? Well, we see the influence they have on our media, Jeff. I mean, look, Fox Neocon News. I mean, do you think Cheney would get on Fox Neocon News if he wasn't pushing their line? Do you think neocon John McCain would be on Fox Neocon News? When I was speaking with Cindy McCain about it, she said two of the issues that John McCain had was, his mortality and being marginalized. And I think you saw that at the end of the HBO Game Change film where he said, I don't want, my dad, when he resigned from the Navy, he passed away, or his grandfather died like the day after World War II ended or something like that, and his dad faded away after he left the Navy, and he didn't want to be in that position. And the bottom line is he toes the line for the lobby because he knows that you would be marginalized if you countered it, and he's benefited pretty well from it, hasn't he? But anyway, just some quick points before the show ends here. I think the point you'd made about Obama as well was very relevant. I mean, he was on Israeli television, and fortunately I saw a brief clip of it on CNN with the AIPAC, former AIPAC newsletter editor Wolf Blitzer, his CNN program, and of course that's never mentioned when he's going hawkishly for war with Syria and Iran, pushing the propaganda from AIPAC basically. And it showed Obama on Israeli television bragging, because he's trying to show how much he didn't hate Israel. He was bragging that Jews in Illinois had put him into the Senate. He said, I don't hate Jews. Jews had put me into the Senate in Illinois. I mean, that didn't make our television except for that brief clip on CNN. Okay, so when you're talking about him being a sycophant for the Israel lobby, he most certainly is. And you'd also brought up Howard Berman. I mean, Phil Weiss is a mutual friend of ours, and I think you're writing over at mondoweiss.net as well.
Hang on, you guys. We're going to come back here, and we got to end the show here in just a few minutes. But interesting conversation. We'll be right back, folks. Support your sponsors, RBN. Real talk, real news, real people, because you can't handle the truth. And so we'll see you in just a moment. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
If you're the mother of a child with behavior problems, I'd like to talk to you. My name is Janet Lehman. I'm a behavioral therapist and a mom. I know what it's like when the child you love becomes a defiant, out-of-control child who disrespects you. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the program that tens of thousands of moms are now using to turn around their child's behavior. If you've heard about the Total Transformation and wondered if it will work for you, now you can try it for free. I'm willing to give away 1,000 programs today for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. We'll let you keep it for free. I know the Total Transformation works because I used these techniques with my own son and with troubled kids for over 30 years. Let me prove to you that it works by giving you the program for free.
Call now. 1-800-583-1093. 1-800-583-1093. That's 1-800-583-1093.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts, as well as a contest corner where we'll raffle different prizes to our listeners. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Welcome back, folks. Here we go right quick. Now, listen, we do have another caller. Jeff in Missouri has been hanging on, but I do have to mention one thing. In my view, the most dangerous people on the media is Huckabee, Rush Limbaugh, and John Hagee, and we got to bring up Jeff in Missouri. He's been holding for hours. Come on, Jeff. Come on up, please.
Hi, it's an honor to be on the show there, Mr. Tourney.
Come on, sir. Go ahead and ask your question, please. I'm sorry you had to wait so long.
Am I on the air?
Yeah, you are. Come on in.
Yeah, it's an honor to be on the show. Hey, I was just kind of remembering in 2007, I think, you know, this might sound familiar with you. There was you might have been an individual involved. There was a conference on No More Wars for Israel, and I'm starting to think it, you know, might be a good time for a redo of that.
Yeah, can't hear you, Jeff. Listen, James.
I'm still here, so I just got a couple quick points, and I know you got to close out the show. I just wanted to ask Jeff 2 quick questions, and I'll be off. If you could give me a minute.
Yeah, go ahead. Hurry up.
Okay, I'll hurry up. Jeff, this is the point I wanted to make, what you just said about Chomsky. You were spot on. I still refer people to your article, The Israel Lobby and the Left, with your discussion. Okay, great. And so what I wanted to say is, before the Iraq War got underway, I'd actually been in an anti-war event, and I saw Chomsky speak. And I was talking to him on the side there, and I brought up Ginza, and he knew exactly what Ginza was. We talked about it because Woolsey was associated with it, and there was something on the news, and we both knew exactly that Ginza was, Woolsey was associated with Ginza. And Chomsky has not brought up Ginza in any of his speeches, any of his presentations against the war. And I think what's also very interesting is the guy that I just had it out with, who was in charge of the Marines in Afghanistan a couple days ago on C-SPAN's Washington Journal. You can go to neoconzionistthreat.com for that. He basically welcomed the Ginza board at the Pentagon, and this guy's in charge of the Marines in Afghanistan. So it's just utterly incredible. And the last thing is, you've got Howard Berman, as you know from wanderways.net. I challenged him in Sherman Oaks, talking about how he's all for Israel and exactly validating the Mershon-Walt book, Israel Lobbying U.S. Foreign Policy, and he came back saying, oh, that's anti-Semitic, yet he validates that he's in the Congress for Israel, and he's willing to send $30 billion to Israel as cities like Stockton are going broke, filing bankruptcy. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks for the time, Phil.
You bet. Go ahead, Jeff.
I couldn't agree with you more. Berman was my parents' congressperson, and actually he seems like he maybe voted out, ironically, this year by someone who's as much of an Israeli firster as he is, Brad Sherman. Both of them are on the advisory committee of the Israel Project. There are 36 or 38 members of the House and Senate as advisors on the Israel propaganda organization, and this should be actually against American law. But when it comes to Israel, everything, they could do whatever they want. And it's interesting you mentioned Wolf Blitzer. There's something going on, a very sinister thing, is which Israel and the establishment here make decisions about who is going to become an Israeli citizen or not. So you have people like David Makovsky at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, founded by AIPAC, was 10 years as the editor of the Jerusalem Post, and evidently did not become a citizen. That enables him to be called constantly before Congress to testify as an independent American expert on Middle East issues. And it's what's his name? Wolf Blitzer is just another one. I actually interviewed Makovsky. I got him to come on my show, and I asked him that question, and he went into a shell.
Hey, listen, guys, this is the end of the show. Thank you, Jeff. It is. It was a fast 2 hours. Listen, I want to thank RBN especially for giving the USS Liberty veterans 2 hours on this great radio station. Thank you, Mike, our board operator. Perfect job tonight. Thanks to all of our callers. And Jeffery Blankfort, we'll get you back on air if you please come on, sir. And remember, USS Liberty, God bless America.
Gold, ever climbing, as the dollar continues to spiral into a free fall. How long before
B for the second hour, so it's no big deal just to switch to Studio B to get things going. And thank you, Mike, for reminding me of that. I'm going to have a rough spot here or two till we get started on this 2 hour program, but I think I can figure it out. We'll get everything done right, and the very best way we can. But I wanted to thank my guest that's going to come on here in a minute, Jeffery Blankfort. So Jeff, just hang on just a little bit, please, and then we'll get you going. And any callers that call in, we'll take you just as soon as we can. But we got a lot to go. I noticed we already got a guest on the line in L.A., and thank you for calling in. But we have to take care of some business here. And again, Mike, thank you for being the board operator. You're very, very kind and on the ball. I appreciate that very much. And thank you, RBN, for what you do for America and getting the truth out. It means a lot to me, and you're a great radio station. And thank you, John Stadtbeller, for giving the opportunity to remember the crew of the USS Liberty and others that have given their lives to this great country. And remember, RBN has a pledge drive going, folks. Yeah, they do. They have a pledge drive. So listen, go to republicbroadcasting.org and give what you can. Let's keep this great radio station going and keep it just as honorable and nice and great as it is. And keep the great people we have on air. And, of course, the sponsors are very, very important to this show, so always remember to support your sponsors. So please do that, folks. And, again, thank you, RBN, for giving the USS Liberty and the crew and myself a chance to speak out and let the truth be heard, because that's all we're trying to do is get the truth out. We're not trying to lie about anything. And I know John Statmiller just wants the chips to fall where they may, and you just can't ask for anything better than that. Just let the chips fall where they may, and we'll see what happens. We'll see who's telling the truth. On Memorial Day, James Morris confronted Senator McCain in Balboa Park Museum and wanted the truth, and he got called a jerk for it. He got called a heckler, and he got called this, he got called that. And, well, he's not a heckler. He's not a jerk. He's a good American, and he tried to, do all he could to get the truth out of it for glory. I don't do it for money. I don't do it for anything other than to honor the people that deserve to be honored. And that's why I'll continue to do this radio show as long as I can. And I'm very proud to do it. Very, very proud to do it. And folks, if you look back when George W. Bush was president, he got us in a war with Iraq. He lied about weapons of mass destruction, chemical weapons, biological weapons, nuclear weapons, and you go on and on and on. Listen, folks, we're going to go to a break here. Remember, support your sponsors on RBN. Real talk, real news, real people, because you can't handle the truth. We'll be right back, folks. Support your sponsors, please. Thank you.
Chlorine, fluoride, pathogens, and more are in the water you drink day to day. Do you want the ability to remove and reduce those harmful things in the water you drink? You can. How? With a Berkey water filter. A complete standalone gravity filter system that requires no electricity and no plumbing. Used for emergencies or for every day. Berkey systems come in 7 different sizes. Where can you get one? From GetBerkey.com. That's GetBerkey.com. With the purchase of each system, you get 50% off accessories, such as fluoride filters, water level spigot, and sport bottles. Plus free shipping on all orders over $25. For a limited time, get 5% off all ceramic systems when you use coupon code RBN. Call Get Berkey at 855-GET-BERKEY. That's 855-438-2375. Or visit GetBerkey.com. That's GetBerkey.com.
Don't answer it! How can I stop these annoying collection calls?
Imagine being free from your debt without settling and with no payment plan, no negotiating or filing bankruptcy, and no attorneys. What if you could eliminate the risk from all your unsecured debt in about 90 days and keep all your money? You can. It's called Zero Debt Guarantee, and it works. There's no other program of its kind on the planet, and we guarantee the results in writing. Call now, 800-477-9256. Let our team of experts provide you with the resources to fight back, stop collection calls, and prevent and stop wage garnishments and bank levies. If you're facing foreclosure, we can help. Don't go it alone. Get free information now by calling 800-477-9256. Talk to an expert who has also completed our program. Call 800-477-9256 for free info, or go to ZeroDebtGuarantee.com. That's 800-477-9256, or go to ZeroDebtGuarantee.com.
As business becomes more difficult, control of cash and the ability to borrow becomes critical. Working capital cash is your greatest insurance and guarantee of financial stability in these uncertain times. Equipment leasing allows you to obtain the income-producing equipment that your business needs and pay for it with tax-free, ever-devaluing dollars. Money that you've already earned and paid taxes on should be sparingly used. That is your reserve capital, safety net. We are also able to buy and lease back equipment that you already own and have depreciated, thereby making more cash available for your present-day needs. For a complete, comprehensive explanation as to how this financial truth will benefit your business future, call Bob New Incorporated at 888-639-2621. 888-639-2621. Keep your working capital cash reserves and borrowing capability. 888-639-2621.
They said that Israeli forces knew not of the liberty's true identity, and so they took advantage of the serenity. They attacked the silent ship, making a 40-foot hole in the starboard, killing 34 and wounding almost 200 more. Their jets sending down merciless napalm and looked like a devil's Star Wars, and the Liberty fell like a wounded and dying lamb. The men and the lives betrayed, and their souls were surely damned, and all the fear and the death and the pain will never depart me. I'll hear the bomb again. I'll hear the bomb again. I'll hear the bomb again.
Welcome back, folks. Here we go to Your Voice Counts, starting off the first 2 hours, and I wanted to remind people that, folks, if you want to listen to both hours of the show, you have to go to the studio about the USS Liberty, and what else can you ask for? So, very proud of you for that, James. And, of course, my good friend Ron Kukl, that was on the show last week, in charge of body recovery and identification, which lives with his soul every day, every minute of his life. So, what a guy he is, and he's absolutely just a wonderful friend. And I want to thank the beautiful voice Kat. Her songs are just instrumental to keep me on the show, because they just give me a lot of oomph. And thank you, Rick, Kat's husband, and thank you, Rick, for marrying such a wonderful girl. I'm glad you guys are happy and healthy, and I know Kat's getting healthier. Thank God for that. And I want to thank Helen and Harley. That's Kat's mother and father, and they're, I think, 82 or 83 years young. And Kat's mother, Helen, she cuts out everything about Israel and just supports the USS Liberty to no end, and I just really appreciate that, all of them doing that, and it just means a lot to me. And for the guests we get on this show, we got guests lined up to end of September, middle of September. All thank you to Kat and Rick and Ron Kukl, and of course James Morrison. I thank you guys very much. Without you, I don't know what I'd do. I just really don't. You're just the cat's meow, as they say. I appreciate all your help. And again, a dear friend of mine, John Gadusco, he lives out in Florida, former intelligence officer aboard the USS Liberty. He got off just before the ship got attacked, thank God. But please go to his site at tinyurl.com/USS Liberty. That's a / tinyurl.com/USS Liberty. You'll find his site on the internet if you want to find out anything about the USS Liberty. And of course, go to ushijack.com. That's James Morris's site. He updates it just on a daily basis. If you want to learn anything new, past or current about the USS Liberty, you can find it there. So please go to there and click on it. Just take a few minutes to read about it. Now I want to talk a little bit about my very, very special guest here today, Jeff Blankfort. Jeff's kindly asked me to just call him Jeff, and I appreciate that, Jeff. He's a very
Now liberty was a
Welcome aboard, folks. Here we go to Your Voice Counts. Unfortunately, I wasn't here last week. I was traveling, and we kind of got switched around from Saturdays to Fridays on a 2-hour show. So that's good. We got a 2-hour program. We can get a lot done and get a lot of callers in and get people to understand it, what this country's all about and why we're here. Anybody's listening? Okay, I was on mute, folks, so I better start all over again. Thanks, Mike. I was gone last week. Thanks to Ron Kukla and James Morris for filling in, and we are in a 2-hour show now. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. We got 2 hours of good listening, good talk on a great radio station, RBN. But anybody who's listened to me very long knows exactly why I do this radio show. It's the honor, the sacrifice of my dead shipmates that lost their lives June 8, 1967 at the hands of Israel and the cover-up that ensued. And I also want to honor all veterans that have given their all for this country, all they could give, their lives, their blood, their sweat, their tears, and what they've done for their families, what they've done for this country to keep it safe, trying to keep it safe. So that's why I do it. You know, I don't do it